Dear people watching and listening, Assalamu alaikum. Kindly like and share this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Kindly support me by sending me a super thanks from $2, £2 or €2, or alternatively support me through Patreon. A Short History of the Saracens by Syed Ameer Ali. Chapter 1. Arabia. Arabia is a large tract of country in the southwest of Asia. It is bounded on the north by the Syrian desert, on the east by the Persian Gulf, on the south by the Indian Ocean, and on the west by the Red Sea. This vast region, which embraces an area twice the size of France at the height of her greatness, is divided into several parts or provinces, differing more or less from each other in the character of their soil, their climate, and the appearance of the people. To the north lies the hilly portion, which in olden times was inhabited by the Edomites and the Midianites of the Hebrew Testament. Then comes Hijaz proper, containing the famous city of Medina, called in ancient times Yathrib, Mecca, the birthplace of the Arabian Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the port of Jeddah, the landing place of the pilgrims of Islam. Hijaz stretches from north to south between the Red Sea and the chain of mountains which runs down from the Isthmus of Suez to the Indian Ocean. The southwest corner of the peninsula is named Yemen. The low-lying hands of Hijaz and Yemen are called the Tihama, which name is sometimes given to the southern part of Hijaz. Hadramaut lies to the east of Yemen, bordering the Indian Ocean, while far away eastward lies, resting on the Gulf of the same name, Oman. The high tableland which stretches from the mountains of Hijaz eastward to the desert of Al-Ahsa and Al-Bahrain on the Persian Gulf is called Najd, a vast plateau with deserts and mountain gorges interspersed with green plantations, which are called oases, forming so many havens of safety in the desert. Hijaz and Yemen now belong practically to Turkey. Najd is ruled by an independent sovereign, whilst Oman belongs to the Sultan of Muscat. This vast tract has no navigable rivers. The rivulets which exist only here and there make the soil fertile. The rainfall is scanty, and the country generally is arid and sterile, except where water is found in any sufficient quantity. But wherever water exists, the fertility is remarkable. The highlands of Yemen, called Jibalul Yemen, rise almost to the height of Mont Blanc, and are split up into numbers of wide and fertile valleys, where the coffee and the indigo plant, the date palm, and vegetables and fruit trees of all kinds are grown. The climate is mild, and in the winter frost is by no means uncommon. There are 2 wet seasons, one in spring and the other in autumn. Hijaz is a broken country, especially round about Mecca, which is 50 miles from the shores of the Red Sea, and some 30 from the granite heaps of Jabal Qura. Here rugged rocks reflecting the hot sun in all its fierceness, barren valleys with little herbage, from which the flocks gather a scanty subsistence, and dry torrent beds from the chief features of the country. Eastward of this gaunt and arid country there lies a smiling tract, covered with vegetation and shady trees, where apples and figs, pomegranates, peaches, and grapes grow in abundance. This is Taif. The Ancient Arabs. Arabia has at various times been peopled by various races. The earliest settlers are said to have been of the same stock as the ancient Chaldeans. They attained great civilization. the remains of which are still observable in southern Arabia, and are supposed even to have extended their power into Egypt and Mesopotamia. They seem to have built huge palaces and temples, and the famous tanks which still exist near Aden are ascribed to them. The Kahtanites. These ancient people were destroyed by a Semitic tribe, which issuing from some country towards the east of the Euphrates, settled in Yemen and parts of Hadramaut. They are said to have been the descendants of Kahtan, also called Joktan, one of whose sons, Yarib, gave his name to the country and the people. The sovereigns of this dynasty were called Sabian after Yarib's grandson, Abdushams, meaning the servant of the sun, surnamed Sabah. The Kahtanite kings were great conquerors and builders of cities, and their dominion in Yemen and other parts of Arabia continued so late as the 7th century of the Christian era. The Ishmaelites. The last of the settlers are called Ishmaelites. Ishmael, or Ismail alayhi salam, as he is called by the Arabs, was a son of Abraham alayhi salam, the great patriarch of the Jews. He settled near Mecca, and his descendants peopled Hijaz and became in fact the founders of Arabian greatness. Ismail alayhi salam is said to have erected the Kaaba, a place of worship regarded with veneration from the earliest times by the Arabs, and which is now the holiest place in the Muslim world. In it is the famous black stone. The Bedouins. The people of Arabia have always been divided into two classes, the dwellers of cities and the dwellers of the desert, the Bedouins. These latter live in tents, and with their families and flocks roam over the deserts and tablelands in search of pasturage. Northern and central Arabia does not appear to have been at any time under foreign rule. In Yemen alone, the Abyssinians exercised a short-lived dominion until expelled by an Arab chief named Saf, son of Zul-Yazan, with the assistance of the king of Persia. From that time forward, for nearly a century or more, Yemen proper was ruled by a Persian viceroy called Marzban. Their religion. The Jews and Christians, large numbers of whom were settled in Arabia, followed their own religions, but the Arabs were mostly worshippers of idols and stars. Each city, like each tribe, had its own separate gods and goddesses, its separate temples and forms of worship. In Mecca, which was considered the center of their national life, a sort of Rome or Benares, there were ranged in the holy temple of the Kaaba 360 idols representing all the gods and goddesses whom the Arabs worshipped. Even human sacrifices were not infrequent. The people who inhabited this vast region, especially those who wandered in the desert which lay to the west of the Euphrates, were called by the Greeks and Romans Saraceni, and this is the name by which they were known in the West when they issued from their homes to conquer the world. The word Saraceni is supposed to be derived either from Sahara, the desert, and Nashin, dwellers, or from Sharqin, eastern, Sharq in Arabic meaning east. End of chapter 1.